My teenage daughter's best friend keeps hitting on me in secret. Please help. This situation could have turned out so much worse, and I still feel like I got lucky with how things ended up turning out. I know a lot of men in my situation might have taken advantage of the poor kid, and maybe it's better that she did this to me instead of an actual predatory man. I am 48 years old, and my wife and I have 2 teenage kids. My daughter is 17 years old and my son is 15, they're both great kids. They both have active social lives, and even though they're having a very different high school experience, I'm proud of both of them equally. My son is very cerebral, and he focuses on his studies more than anything in school. He's a gifted kid, but he still has a couple of friends. My daughter, on the other hand, is a classic social butterfly. She plays sports and has a big friend group that has grown over the years. I've seen girls come and go, and it seems like they have had their fair share of fights within the group, and my daughter always keeps me updated on the drama. Our house is large, and my wife and I are pretty laid back, so our house has become the hangout spot for our kids' friends. On most days, our house is full of a few of both of my kids' friends, and there are about 4 to 8 teenagers hanging out at my house. Both my kids have pretty good friends, and before this one girl, I had never had a problem with anyone my kids brought home. That was until recently, when my daughter became friends with a girl named Claire. The day I met her, my daughter introduced me and told me she had just moved to town. I immediately thought there was something sort of off with this girl. She had this heavy sadness about her. She avoided making eye contact, and she was very skinny, like she skipped most meals. Something bothered me about her, and after she had been over a few times, I told my daughter that I didn't want to pry, but she should let Claire know she is welcome to any food in our kitchen if she likes. My daughter explained that Claire lived with her abusive mother, who was very mean to Claire, especially about her body. My daughter told me that Claire had developed an eating disorder caused by her mom's abuse, and it just broke my heart. I told my wife about Claire's situation, and we agreed that we needed to be extra welcoming to the poor girl. My wife ended up asking my daughter to ask Claire for her favorite foods, and I went to Costco and bought them in bulk. The next day my daughter and Claire had a half day and came to my house after school. When they walked in, I said hello and told Claire she should try some of the new snacks. The girls walked into the kitchen, and my daughter showed Claire everything we had gotten her. Claire was silent, so I looked over and said, "Just let me know if you want anything else, sweetie. Mi casa es su casa," just a corny dad joke. I didn't think much of it until Claire looked at me with teary eyes and thanked me in a quiet voice. My heart really aches for the kid, but my wife and I were happy she could come enjoy the safe space of our house. Yet I could have never thought how things might have gone wrong, and I could have never known how stunted and vulnerable this poor child was. Update. It all started the other night. It was Saturday and both my kids had friends sleeping over at our house, Claire including. The sounds of squealing girls and whooping boys filled our house, just like most Saturdays. My daughter and her friends were being a bit more loud than usual, but I went to go to bed early anyway. My wife stayed up late reading since she's been having trouble sleeping lately. I went to sleep at around 9, then I woke up around 12:30 to use the bathroom. I walked out of the bathroom into the dimly lit hallway, and to my surprise, Claire was waiting for me outside the bathroom door. She scared me honestly. She looked like one of the Shining twins just standing there in the dark, waiting for me. I laughed out of shock when I saw her and asked if she was all right. Here's where things started to get dark. Claire said nothing but took a step closer to me. She was so close, almost touching me, that I started to feel uncomfortable. She then said that no adult had ever been so nice to her, not even her own dad. She told me she really liked me and it was obvious I liked her too. After she said this, I tried to speak up and say that she was a good kid and of course, my wife and I liked her, but before I could open my mouth, Claire lunged at me. She grabbed my crotch and tried to kiss me at the same time. I had never had someone try and touch me like that, and I yelped and stepped back. I stepped away so fast I lost my balance and tripped, and when my butt hit the floor, I heard my wife's voice come from our room. She was standing in the doorway and said, "What the hell?" It was obvious she had seen everything that happened. Claire started crying and kept saying, "But I thought you liked me, don't you like me?" over and over again while crying harder and harder. At this point, my daughter came out of her room to see what was going on. When she saw Claire crying, she pulled her into her room and started comforting her. I just walked back into the bedroom with my wife, still feeling shaken up. Thankfully, my wife had seen the entire thing. She said it was obvious I hadn't caused that, and obviously, the kid was disturbed. My wife is a social worker with a degree in psych, and she deals with these types of situations very analytically. She started speaking to me about Claire. She explained that she worried that Claire might have been sexually abused as a child, or even still. She said a teenage girl doesn't just start acting like that without cause, and she was more worried about her than ever. She said she was torn since obviously the kid was traumatized and lonely, but she also wanted to protect me since it was such a sensitive situation. The very next day, after Claire went home, my wife and I sat my daughter down to talk. My daughter burst out crying, and started apologizing to both of us about Claire's actions. She said that she was sorry, but they had drunk a little vodka the night before. My daughter said her friend had given it to them at school and it was her and Claire's first time drinking. She kept saying sorry, but she said Claire would have never done that without the alcohol. Finally, she shared that Claire had been sexually abused by her father when she was younger, and she had a lot of issues when it came to relating to boys her own age. She said she knew her friend's actions were wrong and extreme, but she cared about her and she was just very traumatized. My daughter said that even though her issues were severe, she loved Claire, and she needed to keep being a supportive friend to her. My wife and I understood, but my wife did tell my daughter that as much as we like Claire, if she does something like this again, we can't allow her back into the house for my sake. My wife said she knew my daughter trusted Claire, but she was clearly unstable, and we couldn't play with fire. My daughter seemed hurt at the idea of banning Claire from the house, but she didn't fight back. I am just grateful my wife caught Claire in the middle of the act, and I know it could have gone much worse for me in case Claire decided to lie about the events. Yet I still feel bad for the kid, and she has been over here and there since the incident, though I do everything to avoid her from now on. Better safe than sorry.